Hey guys, it's Karen from Uniform Apparel, and today I'm going to be showing you how to sew your own face mask at home using upcycled materials without a sewing machine. But most importantly, I'm going to show you how to choose the right fabric so that your face mask is comfortable and breathable. So to make your mask, you can use any piece of clothing you have laying around at your house, but the important thing is that it will be made from natural fabrics that's comfortable and breathable. So I chose this pair of pants made from cotton and linen. And now these are the materials you're going to be using. If you're not sure what your item of clothing is made from, you can always check the inside tag and it should say the composition of your fabric. So what I'm going to do here is just cut off the bottom of the pants so that everything is nice and smooth, and I'm going to iron them out so that it'll be easy to work with. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but these are baby pants. They belong to my 6-month-old baby boy. I was given them as a hand-me-down, but they don't fit right. What I'm going to do is you can either cut your fabric if it's big enough. I was very, very limited with the amount of fabric that I had, so I decided to seam rip just so I could maximize the amount of fabric I can use. But you can just cut a nice block of fabric if you have like a big t-shirt or anything like that. So what you're going to do now is turn your garment inside out so you can mark up everything, because we are going to be tracing another mask as a stencil in order to create the pattern we want for our mask. So what I'm going to do is use a one-time, one-use mask that you can get anywhere, and I'm just going to trace that block out onto my fabric so that I have an idea of the size that I want my mask to be. It's not going to be exactly this shape, but I want to have a nice base that I can go off of. Now I'm going to mark the middle of the length of my mask so that I can extend the top and bottom of my mask by about 1 inch, because I'm not going to do as many pleats as this one-time mask has. I'm only going to do about 2, and this mask has around 4, so I need it to be longer on the top and on the bottom so that it can cover my nose and my chin. So as you can see, I'm just adding 1 inch on the top and 1 inch on the bottom in the middle right there. Now I'm just going to extend a line from the middle of my mask to the sides of my mask in order to put it all together. So my mask is going to have a round shape instead of a square shape like the one-time mask had, but it's also going to have pleats. So it's going to be the best of both worlds here. Now originally, as you can see, I drew lines and made it the same width as the other mask, but then I decided to actually extend that and make it longer on the sides just because I thought it would look better that way. And I like masks that almost come to your ears instead of masks that are shorter. I just think it looks better. So I did end up adding another inch, even more than an inch on either side. All right, so now that we are experienced pattern makers, we are going to cut out our pattern. Make sure you have both layers so that you have a nice thick mask. Pin both layers together so you can evenly cut it out, and then you'll have a beautiful pattern ready to be sewn. Now I forgot to mention that I did not plan for my seam allowances in my pattern, so I am just cutting an extra ½ inch, as you can see, away from my pattern, just so that I have enough room to sew. But you can definitely mark up the seam allowance and then cut it out, or you can do it how I'm doing it, whatever you prefer. Now that we cut everything out, we are ready to sew both layers together. I am using a needle and thread, and I am just sewing a regular stitch up the top and down the bottom and leaving the sides open so that I'll be able to flip it inside out. Here is a close-up of how I'm sewing so you guys can see, but it's just a very basic stitch. Normally I would be doing this with a sewing machine, but I wanted to show you how easy it can be done by hand as well. So now that we have sewn the top and bottom, we are just going to flip it inside out, and you can already see that we have the beginning of a beautiful mask. Now just for your reference, my mask is about 5 inches long and about 9 inches wide, but you should measure your own face and do it according to your measurements. So I already did one side of the pleats before filming, but now I'm just going to show you on the other side how this is done. It's very simple. You're just going to take your fabric and fold it in thirds and create a small pleat like that, and then you're just going to pin it down. And you're going to do this times, but twice on the outside of the mask and twice on the inside of the mask, if that makes sense. So you're going to have 2 pleats on either side, and then again on the other side. Now make sure that while you're creating the pleat, you are also folding the edge of the mask inside so that you don't have a raw edge showing. So you're going to carefully fold the fabric into thirds, fold it inwards, and then pin it down. And now fold the rest of the edges inwards so that you have a nice clean finish. And you are almost done. Now for our straps, you can use any kind of elastic that you have. I decided to use hair bands, but you can also use just a regular elastic, or you can also use the straps of an old tank top that you're not using anymore. Anything that has a stretch will work. And you're just going to take that elastic, make sure that it's the right length, so try it on your face first, and then you're going to pin it into the mask so that when you sew up the sides, you're going to sew up the elastic into the sides of the mask. Now take your needle and thread and sew up the sides of the mask, including the elastic, and make sure that you sew the elastic band in very, very tight so that it doesn't fall off. And yeah, just do an invisible stitch here. So invisible stitch means that you take a tiny bit from where you can see the fabric and a lot from where you can't, if that makes sense. But if it doesn't, you should Google how to do this kind of stitch, or you can just sew it up anyway you know how, because this part isn't going to be seen from the front anyways, it's on the side of the mask. And there you have it, guys, a finished mask made from cotton and linen, hand sewn. It's so comfortable, you are not going to want to take this off.